Well, now the House of Commons held a debate this week about the contribution that Ugandan Asians have made to the country since they were expelled by Idi Amin 40 years ago. A number of our MPs spoke up on an issue that's had a big impact on the East Midlands community.
Leicester today is a much stronger, much more confident, vibrant city because of the contribution of the Ugandan Asians.
So what was it like to leave Africa with virtually nothing and to arrive in a cold Great Britain in the early 70s? And what impact have the Ugandan Asians had on life in Leicester? Jane Dodge looks at how the city's economy and its politics have changed forever.
Today they run a successful jewellery business in Leicester. 40 years ago they were penniless and stateless. And Atul Patni was an 8-year-old boy stepping into the unknown.
What I remember, my first thing was walking down the steps of the plane as we landed at Heathrow. The wind, the cold, because we've never had that in Kampala. It was always been hot. You know, we used to run around in our vests.
£50 and a couple of suitcases. That was all they were allowed to take with them. 30,000 Ugandan Asians were forced to leave their homes in 1972. The President, Idi Amin, gave them 90 days to get out.
They have been milking the economy of the country.
The red brick terraces of Britain, and Leicester in particular, became a refuge for many.
Belgrave Road, now known of course as the Golden Mile, is where many Ugandan Asians settled. They found cheap accommodation here, got jobs in local factories, saved hard and eventually set up their own businesses.
In Uganda, Dayalji Mavji had been a goldsmith since the age of 12. But once in Leicester, he took a job in a factory, working night shifts.
That's the mentality of my father. Work is work. Without work, there's no money. Without money, you can't provide.
Dayalji continued to make jewellery in his spare time and after a year was able to open a shop. His son believes this entrepreneurial spirit, common amongst Ugandan Asians, has been highly beneficial to Leicester's economy.
By spending their money, they've boosted everything for Leicester. They're bringing a lot of money in these shops. Otherwise, there would be nothing here.
Not everyone was happy with their new neighbours though. This march in Leicester was organised by the National Front, and the Labour-run City Council at the time placed an ad in a Ugandan newspaper discouraging Asians from coming.
Because it's already overcrowded, and to try to persuade the people who are coming in to find other ports of call.
Politics in Leicester has come a long way since then. A third of the councillors who now represent the city are Asian, as is of course one of the 3 local MPs, Keith Vaz.
Sundip Meghani is the son of a Ugandan Asian. He grew up on a Leicester council estate and is now a city councillor.
I'm now standing up for white working class families in Beaumont Leys because they deserve to have the best representatives working for them day in, day out. And I think that's the key thing, and that is that here in Leicester we're managing to cross boundaries, we're managing to cross cultures.
Not everything has changed though. The far right still holds marches in Leicester. With that perhaps in mind, the council has passed a motion recently welcoming the contribution made by Ugandan Asians and condemning efforts to stop others who've been persecuted from also coming here.
Andrew, 40 years on, immigration obviously is still a very sensitive issue. What do you think we've learned through what happened in Leicester?
Well, I think I need to correct you on something. You said that the Ugandan Asians came here with nothing. They didn't come here with nothing. They came here with their skills, they came here with their work ethic and their determination, and that has been a great asset to our country and our country's economy. And those are the sort of immigrants we want in the future, people who are going to come here and make a contribution, not people who are coming to our country to see what they can get out of us.
And what do you think we've learned from them coming here, though?
That they've driven that economy and brought their skills with them. Then they've got on. So you can keep people down and take them out of their own country, but if they've got their determination, this is still a country where you can make it.
OK, well, not so long ago, Margaret, you were Foreign Secretary. Would the situation that happened with Ugandan Asians back then ever be repeated again? In other words, would we open our doors so extensively ever again?
To be perfectly honest, I think an awful lot would depend on the numbers involved and the circumstances of the time. But I mean, the reason that Idi Amin wanted the Ugandan Asians out was because they were the entrepreneurs, they ran the businesses, they were absolutely key to the economy, and he didn't want them to be. So it was a huge benefit.
30,000 of them had joint passports, British passports, so they were entitled to come here anyway.
Indeed.
And as you're both really saying, that Leicester has benefited hugely from them coming here.
And will do for generations.
Yes.
And not just Leicester, you know, the whole country and other parts of the country.
And we now have this thriving multicultural society, not just in Leicester, but obviously in Derby too, both examples of that, both those cities. But there are still tensions, aren't there? We can't deny that there are still tensions.
Yes, and I think you have to remember that in 1972, when the Ugandan Asians came in, the country had a population of 56 million. Now we're well over 60 million, and that does create pressures.
Yes, and obviously when we get protests and demonstrations, as we've seen in Leicester, particularly with the EDL, it's your cities that have to pick up the bill and foot the bill, isn't it?
Yeah, the policing bill is huge.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate in Derby. I mean, I don't want to tempt Providence,
Yes.
but we have on the whole got good community relations, and problems do arise between the different communities. I remember some years ago there was a problem in India, and Fleet Street descended on our city, and the leaders of the different communities went away together and sorted it out, and they all went away rather disappointed. And that's what we tried and do in Derby.
Do you think we've come a long way then?
I think we have.
I mean, we saw those pictures, didn't we, of the National Front?
Absolutely, and I think actually it's complete. We are certainly multiracial in Leicester and Leicestershire, and I think when the Queen chose Leicester to come on the first stop on her Jubilee tour, that and when you were out there in the streets and saw everybody together supporting the Queen, supporting the Jubilee, that's when we felt completely united in Leicester.
Okay.
We'd moved on.
Yeah, nice to hear that.